So I've finalised my plans about what I'm going to do this summer. I'm going to spend 2 months on the northern section of the European Divide Bikepacking Trail. Something I'm really looking forward to. I really enjoyed the southern part that I did last year. And now I only have to decide what bike I'm going to take, what equipment I'm going to take with me, and how I am going to document and share my adventure. On a number of my different trips, walks, cycle tours, I've tried a lot of different equipment. And after a while, you get to know yourself. And I have a problem in that I am a little bit lazy and I don't use the equipment enough, which means that I prefer to carry pretty lightweight equipment. It also makes it easier to cycle and everything else more enjoyable in many, many different ways. But for this trip that I'm going to do in July and August, I've decided I am going to make a short series of YouTube videos where I go through my process of what I choose, how I choose it, and what apps or additions or extra equipment I add to make it viable for what I'm going to do. I hope to make video films about the trip this time, which is going to change what I bring along. If I was only going to take stills photography, I could probably use a lot less equipment. But I have decided that I am going to keep learning about making films or videos, so I really need to be able to film. There are a number of different things that I have to take into consideration. And the first thing is, if I'm going to share what I do during the time I'm out on the trip, if I'm going to be uploading to YouTube or to social media while I'm still traveling, or if I'm going to just go out there, do the trip, have my adventure, and then come back and edit and upload afterwards. I like the idea of being able to share while I'm out on the adventure, and that's what I've done with all my trips previously, even if it's only been in blog format or on Instagram. So that's what I'm going to try to keep doing, which means that I need more equipment with me than if I was just going to collect my files and information for use later on. The first thing I'm going to need, if I am going to be able to share while on the road, is something to edit in. I have previously tried to use an iPad. When I did my Te Araroa walk in New Zealand, I only had an iPad Pro with me, and I was quite pleased with how that worked. The only problem was that at that stage I was only taking still images and no video. With DaVinci Resolve being released for the iPad, I am now going to try to use the iPad as my main computer when I'm out on a trip. And that means using the iPad just as it is, without any extra keyboard or anything. Because I honestly feel that as soon as you add a magic keyboard or a large keyboard to the iPad, it becomes as big as a 13-inch MacBook Air. So if I was to add a keyboard, I think I would prefer to bring a MacBook Air instead. But if I'm going to try to make my equipment as light as possible, this is what I'm going to go with. 11-inch iPad Pro, and it's the M2 model, and I'm going to try to use DaVinci Resolve to edit on, and hopefully that should be plenty to be able to share and store everything. And I can connect external storage, I can make backups. So I should basically be able to do anything on this. I will update with another video where I talk more about exactly how I'm going to use the iPad Pro and what apps I'm going to use on that. But then I need to capture whatever it is I'm going to share as well. And looking back at my trips, I've used a number of different things. I've gone from using just a mobile phone all the way up to using a medium format digital system camera. When I rode around Finland in 2017, I had a Hasselblad digital medium format camera with me. When I walked in New Zealand in 2020, I only had my mobile phone with me. So I've tried everything in between that. The natural thing to do might be to bring a modern camera that can do both good stills and video, one of the new hybrid type cameras. And this is a full format camera, but I mean, I could basically use an APS-C or a smaller format camera, which would make it smaller and lighter. Again, I'm not sure if that's what I want to do. The other alternative is something like my Canon XF605 that I've been using a lot lately. But that I'm not going to use that. It's just too big to carry, too much of a hassle, even though using it as a video camera, it has a lot of pluses. It's very easy to use. There's no add-ons. Everything just works straight off. So even if I was to rig out a camera like this to be able to do what this does, this would become quite large. But I don't think I'm going to be using either of these, actually. On my last trip, I brought a drone along with me. Now, I managed to get that drone stuck in a tree in Spain, so I only used it for the very beginning of my journey. But I actually liked the views that I could get with a drone. So I'm very tempted to bring a drone. This is my Mini 3 Pro with the controller. I'm very tempted to bring that along, as that, complete with the extra kit and extra batteries, is not too big, and it does offer some unique perspectives, especially with video. I mean, when you're out in the nature and you get the big landscapes, so it does sort of, I think I will be bringing this along. I'm not 100% sure yet, but I think I will be bringing the drone along to do some filming and some stills photography. I also had on my last trip, I had a 360 camera, Insta360 X2, and I really enjoyed using that camera. It was a great camera, very easy to use, but when I came back and looked at all the footage, I was a little bit disappointed in the quality. It's easy to use, easy to film with, and you can reframe afterwards. It's a very interesting camera, but the quality does suffer a little bit, especially in low light, and you don't get, the resolution isn't great when you crop in to smaller than a 360 view. So this time, I think I'm going to go with the GoPro 11 instead. I can't reframe this, and I have to be much more careful where I place it and what I do, but the quality, the resolution will be higher, so I hope that this will be better than the X2. I'll just have to take a little bit more time placing it in different positions and being careful with my compositions. More time is needed, but it's not bigger, and hopefully I will get better quality out of it. So the GoPro is definitely coming along, because I also want something that's a little bit rugged that I can use when it's raining, possibly when I go swimming. We'll see if I ever go swimming, but if I do, I want to bring that along. It's small, it's light, it's easy to use, so that's definitely coming along. So the GoPro and the drone. I don't think I'll be bringing a large camera this time, and I definitely won't be bringing the larger video camera. So what options are left? Well, the phone. When I've used the phone previously, I've been reasonably pleased. I have limited myself to using just a mobile phone a couple of times on a couple of different adventures. The later part of the walk through Europe, I used only my Sony Xperia. When I was in New Zealand walking the Te Araroa, I used only the Huawei P20 Pro, I think it was. And I was actually quite pleased with the photos from that. I now have an Apple iPhone 12 Pro, and I might update this to an iPhone 14 Pro before the summer starts. And this, in combination with the iPad, the drone, and the GoPro, is what I think I will be going with on this excursion. There are naturally a number of things and accessories that will make the iPhone better to photograph and to film with, and I will be going through that in a separate video as well. Basically, this is the introduction to what my reasoning is along what equipment I'm going to bring with me, and then as I discover different aspects of what works and what doesn't work in the coming months before I set out on my trip, I'm going to do small updates. I'll do a little mini review of the drone, of the GoPro 11. I will talk a little bit more about what works on the iPad, how DaVinci Resolve works, what it's like transferring files. I'll talk about how much I need in the way of extra batteries, extra storage, and how I communicate between the different devices. But at the moment, and I mean everything is subject to change, this is what I'll be using. My mobile phone, either this, the iPhone 12 Pro, or I might update to an iPhone 14 Pro. My iPad 11-inch Pro, an M2 model, GoPro 11, and the DJI Mini 3 Pro. This is a reasonable amount of equipment to bring with me, but as you'll see, as I make more videos and start explaining what I need to make this work properly, this actually grows with all the batteries and all accessories and all the little chargers and everything else I need to make this work together. But basically, this is what I'm going with, and I will update with more videos explaining how each different part works and interacts as a whole package. So keep watching.